Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Coach Cody podcast. So this is actually the second time I'm recording this podcast because I tried to record this on Sunday as I was rushing off to go to a concert. My girlfriend and I were celebrating our 2-year anniversary. Yay. And we got tickets to go to a concert, and I was like, yes, I was so proud of myself because I got it done in a very short amount of time. And then I watched it back later and realized my microphone wasn't on. So go me, winner there. But here we are doing this again. Hopefully this time my mic is on. From what I can see, it is. But, you know, technology likes to play tricks sometimes. But regardless, the concert was great. We saw a band called The Lone Bellow. And we've essentially followed them around anytime they're in the area. They're one of my favorite bands to see live, just because they're amazing. They're a smaller band. Not many people know about them, which was very clear because we did the VIP experience, which I've never done before. But the tickets were so cheap, I just couldn't help myself. So did the VIP experience, and I actually was unaware that it also included a meet and greet. I don't do well with meet and greets in general, but also meeting people that are, I find very, brain fart, hello. Okay, so they're kind of semi-famous, people that you've been listening to for a long time, people you've paid money to go see perform, and they're amazing performers. And so I was extra nervous going to this concert. And, concerts are the only really reason that I will willingly go out and be around a bunch of people, because I'm such an introvert. I'm like, nah, I'm good. But live music kind of just overpowers it. It recharges me. It's amazing, especially this group. But we met them, and they did a little VIP acoustic concert for all. There was not more than 10 people that did the VIP. So it was more anxiety inducing because it was way intimate. They were just with arm's distance right there, and they were asking for requests there. People could ask questions, and then it came time to take a photo. And that's where I just get real awkward. So there's three members of this band, and there's two guys, one girl, and we went up, and I shook the guy's hand because he reached out to shake my hand. His name is Zach. Said hello. I was between the female in the band, and I just didn't make eye contact, and so I said hello to him and basically ignored her because I couldn't make eye contact, and just left. And I was probably the most rude fan they've ever had, but it wasn't because I didn't want to talk to them. I was just so anxious. That's what happens. So if I ever meet you and I just freeze, that just means that I feel I'm in the presence of greatness. I just lost for words. Anyways, enough about my awkwardness. And so I don't fanboy. I just freeze and act like an asshole, even though I'm fanboying on the inside. But anyways, this episode, I wanted to talk about buzzwords in the fitness industry that maybe you might see some coaches using or fitness gurus using, but also when it comes to the food industry and food labeling, because there's a lot of labels that are used for marketing purposes, but they can be deceiving. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have meaning, but sometimes they can be taken out of context, or sometimes they can actually have no meaning. It just depends. So first, I want to start off with some buzzwords that are very commonly used within the fitness industry regarding coaches and marketing tactics. So, and I guess it is also something that you'll see on food labels sometimes, but let's dive in. So first and foremost, we have the word detox or detoxify. This one is really popular. We got those detox teas. We gotta flush your system, detox your system first before we can lose weight, or you need to detox. That's why you can't lose weight. All that is just pure fucking bullshit. We have a liver which does the detoxing for us. I think sometimes detox or, detoxifying is more of a saying or a phrase we say to mean just kind of cleaning up our diet, or that sort of thing, but it kind of gets taken out of context, and people think that like you need to detox in order to lose weight, or that you need to detox in order to be healthy. But really, just changing your diet is its own type of detox. So it's not, we don't have actual like detox protocols that we need. So just keep in mind, if you see that, or if you see a coach using that, chances are you should probably run in the other direction, because they're probably trying to sell you some supplements or sell you on an idea that you just need them because they have the secret detox for your body in order for you to reach your goals. So next we have, let's go with metabolism reset. This is something I'm seeing a lot lately, and this just oversimplifies metabolism. It's a very complex thing, and we are not just born with reset buttons, right? We are not computers. We are not electronics. There's no easy button reset. You can't do that. This is kind of, I feel like the metabolism reset is kind of used more of just like a general reset. It's not like, yeah, we're resetting your metabolism doing X, Y, Z. It's more like, I feel like we're resetting habits, right? We're building healthier habits, new habits. We are eating better foods. We're putting more nutritious foods in our body. And I guess in a way you can kind of see that as a reset, but it's not a reset to your metabolism. It's just something called change, lifestyle change, right? So if someone's trying to tell you you need to reset your metabolism, chances are they either don't know what they're talking about, or two, something they heard somewhere and they think they know what they're talking about, or three, like they actually believe you can reset your metabolism, which again, run away. All right. Another one that you might see a lot is like fat burning, used in the context of whether it's a fat burning food or fat burning pill. You'll see a lot of articles that are kind of clickbaity. I feel like all of these labels are something, it's like the clickbait of fitness or food, nutrition. So sometimes you'll see lists of like 12 best fat burning foods. Guess what? No foods are fat burning. If they contain calories, no, it's not going to just help you burn fat. There are foods that are lower calorie that can help you stay within a calorie deficit, but they are not fat burning. So a lot of these words, again, like they're just slapped on in the wrong context, essentially. So no fat burning foods, but there are some foods that are lower calorie, more filling. Vegetables, for example. Protein is great, more satiating, so that's going to help you stay in a calorie deficit and in turn lose fat, hopefully, if you're in the calorie deficit. All right, so next one to look out for is anything that says like fast results or like 30-day shred or rapid weight loss. And rapid weight loss is a term, it can be used, there are some coaches out there that use it as a jumpstart, but it's more for like the mental aspect of things. But also rapid weight loss can be kind of relative. For example, if you ever watched My 600-Pound Life, they can lose, like they weigh so much that they can lose like 100 pounds in a month, right? That's something that we would probably consider rapid weight loss. But considering they weigh so much, it's actually really not, in comparison to someone who doesn't have a lot to weight to lose. And maybe in a month they lose 4 pounds. But that's completely normal, and it's actually a pretty good rate of weight loss. But generally rapid also means unsustainable, and anything that's kind of quick, crash diety, unsustainable, unfortunately, is not going to be the best for you long term. The reason this is used sometimes in the beginning is for people who generally feel really impatient, or you know that someone's going to quit if you do things too slow, right? So it kind of depends on the person. I don't recommend, like I have never used, rapid fat loss as a strategy with my clients. I generally just like to preach patience and sustainability long term, because that's going to keep things off long term, and that's the healthiest way to do it. So I haven't run across a time where I've had to use rapid fat loss or like an aggressive type of thing yet. I think it could be something that maybe you might see in prep if you're behind and you got to get real extreme. But again, as a coach, I try not to get to that point. I haven't got to that point. So start prep early so we don't have to go to the super duper extremes, even though prep in itself is an extreme. But yeah, so if there's any plan that promises quick weight loss, chances are it's not real, too good to be true. And it's not going to be the healthiest, and it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to keep doing long term. So a lot of the times, that's another thing, is like, if something seems too good to be true, chances are it probably is. So always keep an ear and eye out for that. Go with your gut. That's the biggest thing, is like, if people are guaranteeing you something or losing X amount of pounds in a certain amount of time, be careful, because that isn't something that's really predictable. It really depends on the individual's metabolism, how adherent you are to the program. So I never like to make promises or guarantees when it comes to fat loss, weight loss, and stuff like that, because there's just too many factors that are out of your control. So you might be able to give an estimate, but generally it's like, this could be possible, but not saying it's gonna be, right? All depends on the work that's put in, the individual's metabolism, and just how smoothly things go. So, as far as, so crash dieting, liquid diets, any weird fad diets, just be careful of those. Don't be going like cabbage soup diet. I'm gonna lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks. It's because when you start eating again, you're just gonna gain it all back and maybe then some. So yeah, be careful of that. Another thing I feel like I see a lot is, I feel like not as much lately, but there was a huge thing called starvation mode for a while there, and people thought if you like essentially skipped a snack in the middle of the day, that your body was going to go into starvation mode, and then you were going to start gaining weight or not be able to lose weight. But the body doesn't work that quickly with things. There is something called metabolic adaptation, but this is something that happens over time, and it's something that happens as you get smaller, essentially. So say you're 160 pounds and you lose 15 pounds. That means that your metabolism is going to be slower, but it's because you are a smaller person and you need less food in order to maintain that weight. But there can also be times where we cut our calories too quickly, too fast, and just too much all at once. There is the risk of your metabolism adapting to lower calories too quickly, because our bodies are smart. They are trying to survive. So it can learn to become more efficient on lower calories. So that's why you always want to be eating as much as you can while still seeing results. Cutting calories faster doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see results faster. And in the long term, it might make it harder to keep off. So go slow. Don't go for the rapid. Don't try to make things go quicker, because it tends to just bite you in the ass. All right. So let's move on to superfood. This is something that I feel like Dr. Oz created this word. There's a whole book dedicated to superfoods, and there's no food that's necessarily superior. This generally just means that it's got a lot of antioxidants in it. It's very nutrient dense, like berries, blueberries, fruits and vegetables are generally considered superfoods, but that doesn't mean you should just eat those foods. You want to eat a variety. So don't get stuck on this is a superfood, I'm just going to eat 1 million blueberries a day and probably shit my pants. Variety is key, right? So superfoods, great, cool, but you just want to make sure you're eating a variety and staying within your nutrition goals. Let's see, what's another one that's real popular right now? So I think we're kind of moving more into, so insulin resistance is another buzzword out there right now, and it's a real thing, but I feel like it gets thrown around too much, and people just are like, oh yeah, you're insulin resistant. This is why you can't lose weight. This is why you should hire me and we'll fix that for you. Or you might just assume, I must be insulin resistant. This is why I can't lose weight. But a lot of the times it's more of an error in tracking your food. Maybe you think you're in a calorie deficit, but you're not. In the case that you are insulin resistant, that means you're definitely going to want to watch your food, create a calorie deficit, Get up and move more throughout the day. Walking between meals can help with insulin sensitivity. So there are things that you can do that don't require like severe intervention. Maybe someone's trying to sell you some special shit to help with that specifically. Sometimes there's some protocols and things that are needed depending on the individual. But just keep in mind that just because you aren't losing weight doesn't mean that you're automatically insulin resistant. You need to check off all boxes, make sure you are actually calorie deficit, make sure you're tracking your food accurately, and you are moving more throughout the day, keeping your activity levels high. And I would do all those things before you go claiming insulin resistance. And also, if you want to double check, get some blood work done. That's like the true fire way to kind of see what is really going on. All right. There's definitely a few other things that have been kind of flying around the coaching world. I'll probably remember those in a second, but I think let's kind of dive into some of the things that you might see in the grocery store. Yeah. So let's start with natural. This is, I feel like, on pretty much anything, especially at Trader Joe's. It's that word that you see on all the things that are brown, like the brown bag stuff. They package it in like cardboard boxing or they put it on like, it's like why we think that brown eggs are more nutritious when in reality it's just a different chicken breed of chicken. So it's funny how that works. Marketing, right? It's tricky, so be careful. But natural, it's not a regulated term. It just basically means things are more like less processed. Maybe they don't have artificial sweeteners and food dyes in them, but I'm pretty sure they can still have like stevia and stuff like that. But it can still contain a shit ton of calories and sugar and stuff like that. So it doesn't mean that it's low calorie. It just might mean that maybe it doesn't have a shit ton of dye and artificial things in it. But if you're going to have to pay more for it, doesn't mean that it's going to like help with weight loss. Let's see. Organic. That is a big one. So organic just means that things were not produced, using synthetic pesticides, fertilizers. It's non-GMO. So it's, basically more organic, natural. But that doesn't mean calorie free, doesn't mean healthier. There's, a variety of types of organic cookies and cakes. You can get anything organic these days, but it doesn't mean that it's healthier. So don't let that fool you. If something says organic on it, it's not going to be much different. If you're someone who really wants to stay away from pesticides and stuff like that, I feel like that's a good enough reason to spend an extra $1. And, there are, people don't know, there is an amount of pesticides that are allowed to be used even on organic produce. But, and also, there's produce like for Trader Joe's, for example, their organic produce is pretty cheap, but it comes from all over the world. I feel like mostly China, but do we really know what their regulations are with organic produce? Like, what are they allowed to use on their produce? Is it the same regulations here as any other countries? I don't know. So just kind of be careful. If you want to spend the extra $1 for organic, make sure, I would wait, go to farmers markets. If you have the extra money, I'd say Whole Foods, although I will say Whole Foods prices have improved a lot since they were bought out by Amazon. So it's not as much of a whole paycheck as it used to be, but just don't be fooled into paying more for organic if you think that it's healthier. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Oh yeah, organic doesn't, I think I already said, it doesn't mean it's like lower calories and stuff. All right, so we have low fat. So this is one, if you're a kid in the 90s, basically, there was, or not a kid in the 90s, if you knew the 90s at all, there was a low fat craze. There happens to be food trends often, and back then, people thought low fat was the way to go, was the way to be healthier and to lose weight. Now, people are going low carb or keto. So you might pay attention to the way the foods trend. I feel like there's always something that is demonized at one time or another. So be aware of any diets that demonize any food groups, because generally they do tend to fall on the side of being a fad. So pay attention to what foods feel good for you, what your body digests well, and what you feel the best eating. Food rules generally don't end well. So just be careful with that. But also, low fat generally means they replace that fat with sugar. So it probably isn't really much less calories, maybe if any. And instead of getting the fat in your low fat cookie, you're getting more sugar. So it's just a trade-off. All right. So gluten-free, that is another one that is incredibly popular right now. It has been for a while, and it does serve a purpose. It does mean what it means, but I think a lot of people often mistake gluten-free for healthier. It doesn't mean it's healthier. It's healthier for you if you have celiac or gluten intolerance, but it doesn't mean that everyone needs to be eating gluten-free if they don't have those issues. But also, it doesn't mean that it's any healthier. There's plenty of gluten-free cakes and cookies and etc. out there. So it's not going to be lower calorie. It's not going to be any healthier. It just means that you might not get as big of a stomach ache if you are intolerant to gluten. So something to keep in mind. All right. So I think, oh yes, other things to look out for. So let's say you're buying eggs. Usually you have a lot of options, right? You got cage-free, free-range, organic, and they all have different meanings that also simultaneously don't mean much. So cage-free means pretty much fucking nothing. It just means that the chickens aren't in cages, but they could still be kept in like a dark barn in such close quarter. If you've ever seen Food Inc., you probably know what I'm talking about. They're essentially still packed into a barn. Maybe they're not in cages, but they might as well be because it's packed tight and they hardly have enough room to move around. This doesn't even mean that they get access to outdoors. It literally just means cage-free, quotation marks, cage-free, but they're still in a big cage called a barn. So then we have free range. So free range is a little bit better than cage free. It could mean that they are allowed access to the outdoors for a certain amount of time a day. Doesn't mean they're outdoors all the time, but it means that they do have access to the outdoors. And this can differ depending, I guess it depends on the jurisdictions of the area of what's free range can mean. So just keep in mind before you go searching out for free range. I feel like it's definitely a better option than cage free. So I do tend to reach for the free range when I can. And the way that you know that something might be closer to free range, I feel like you can't find them anything under like $9 these days. So generally the more expensive the eggs, generally, not always, means that they're cared for a little bit better. But there's also organic. So organic doesn't mean they're cage free. It doesn't mean that they're free range. It just means that they are fed an organic feed. So they're not given a diet that has like GMOs, pesticides, etc. No antibiotics are used. So that's essentially what organic means. So it doesn't have to do anything with the housing of the chickens, just pretty much what they're fed or medications and stuff like that. So be careful of that. When buying eggs, they're expensive as they are. So I wouldn't, put out more money for a cage-free label. I probably would say it's worth it a little bit more for free range. If you can get free range organic, those are the ones that are probably like $10-12 per dozen. But again, a lot of these things can be avoided by shopping at like a local farmer's market. You get to, have a little bit more access to, it's more direct, right? Direct to farmer. Be careful. There are some shady people that just like buy produce and sell it at the farmer's market like they grew it. But anyways, so so when it comes to like beef, grass-fed was a bit of a buzzword for a while, but they tend to try to trick you. So make sure you're getting what you pay for. There's a lot of times you'll see like organic beef Same thing with like organic chickens and stuff. It just means that they were given food that was organic, but it doesn't mean that the cows had free range to graze on grass. They could have been just corn fed their whole lives, pretty much caged up, not so happy cows. So that doesn't hold a lot of weight and meaning. There's also grass fed. So that is just one label on its own, but this can mean that they started out kind of, eating grass, but then they were finished with a corn feed to fatten them up before they were butchered. So it's pretty popular to do, corn or like grass fed, but not finished. Or biggest thing to look for, if you want actual grass fed beef, make sure it's grass fed and finished, 100% grass fed, because that means they were fed grass from start to finish. There was no switch of corn fed from grass to be fattened up at the end. And you might notice that 100% grass fed beef has a little bit of a gamier taste to it. I prefer it. I actually like it. But it's just something, I find interesting. It's not gamey like lamb gamey. It's just like the tiniest little bit of a different taste. But those are some things to look out for. Help you save some money or really know what you're buying into. So don't let the marketing deceive you. They're really, really good at that. So I think that about covers everything. Gonna make this one decently short and sweet, but I just want to make sure, you're all looking for the signs of a marketing scam, right? There's a lot of things out there. People want your money. People want you to pay them the big bucks. But just remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So that about wraps this up. I'll probably think of something at some other time that I missed, but I feel like this is a good place to start. So just keep an eye out on those things in the grocery store. Always read your food labels too, of course. Don't pick something up and just throw it in your cart and then get home and realize, it has a shit ton of calories and all the things that probably shouldn't go in my body. So that's my biggest tip. No matter what it says on the front of the label, make sure you read the back. And then when it comes to coaching, just be careful for anyone that's giving you promises or guarantees, anyone who is selling you the secret to fat loss, muscle building, etc. They're full of shit and they're just trying to sell to you. That's why I always say, I have no secrets. If I did have a secret to sell you when it came to fat loss, muscle gain, that sort of thing, I would do it, but I don't. So all I have to sell is honesty and hard work, which is not always the easiest to sell, but at least I can sleep at night. So, all right, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully I have the microphone on today. And if you have any topic suggestions or anything else you would like me to cover, feel free to email me and also leave a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That would help me out a ton. All right, guys, peace out. I will talk to you next time.